Hey, happy 125th episode, by the way. And Celtic Festival is done, but St. Paddy's Day is just around the corner. Hence, no pirate outfit tonight. I was too lazy. We have no guest tonight. We almost had a guest, and at the last minute it failed out. At the last minute it happened, then at the last minute it failed out. So we're just going to have a nice relaxing show tonight because, quite frankly, it's been a very, very long weekend. So on that note, how do you find us? Well, YouTube. Use that QR code, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Captain's Quarters Podcast. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us. Join our team, our crew, and be a part of everything that we're doing. We hope you will be a part of our crew because with your suggestions and your support, we can do even more and more and more. And we may even be telling you about a few more things starting tonight. But on that, make sure you hit that QR code. It's the easiest way to find us. We are sponsored, ladies and gentlemen, by the Pirate and Treasure Museum, our major sponsor. And Davey, is my eyes getting bad or is that just blurry?
Yeah, you're kind of blurry.
Again. Put it up again.
Oh, the
logo? Okay. I guess it's not quite as blurry without the glasses or with the glass. Okay. All right. Maybe we'll clean that one up a bit, but we'll see what happens. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we like to start our show off with what we like to call 8 Bells, sponsored by the Rikers Reenacting Family. They do Spanish, they do British, they do pirate. And they are very huge supporters of the St. Augustine Swashbucklers. In fact, they were out at the Celtic Festival manning the Mayhem's Nautical Museum booth. And they brought some of their own things, and we had some good conversations about things, and it attracted a lot of attention. And a lot of people are very interested in history and seeing these artifacts. So it was a well-worthy place to visit at the Celtic Festival. Upon that, how many do we have tonight, Mr. Longwood?
6.
6 it is. I have my glasses. I am ready. Linda Balgoord, an American Broadway actress and singer, most notable for playing Norma Desmond in the 1996 United States tour of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Sunset Boulevard, being the last actress to portray Grizabella in the original Broadway run of Cats, and originating the role of Queen Elizabeth I in The Pirate Queen on Broadway. She also played the role of Madame Geary in Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera, in both the restaged North American tour and on Broadway. She was 64 years old. Sharon Dorsey, an American professional football player who was an offensive tackle in the National Football League, NFL, for the Dallas Cowboys and Houston Texans. He played college football for the Florida State Seminoles and was selected by the Cowboys in the 7th round of the 2001 NFL Draft. Dorsey worked as a football coach for the Mentors of Tomorrow Cowboys in Jacksonville, Florida. He was 46 years old. William Alvin Whitworth, an American journalist and editor. He worked as a reporter for the New York Herald Tribune, my apologies, from 63 to 66, columnist and associate editor for the New Yorker from 66 to 80, and editor-in-chief of the Atlantic from 81 to 99. He was 87 years old. Steve Lawrence, wow, an American singer, comedian, and actor. He was best known as a member of the pop vocal group Steve and Edie, with his wife Edie Gourmet, for his performance as Maury Slime, the manager and friend of the main characters in the 1980 film The Blues Brothers. Steve and Edie first appeared together as regulars on Tonight, starring Steve Allen in 1954, and continued performing as a duo until Gourmet's retirement in 2009. Steve Lawrence was 88 years old. Roger Wilfred Davis was a former professional American football player who played offensive lineman for 7 seasons for Chicago Bears, the Los Angeles Rams, and the New York Giants. He was drafted by the Bears in the 1st round, 7th overall, of the 1960 NFL Draft, and is one of only 2 guards drafted in the 1st round by the team, Kyle Long being the other. He was 85 years old. David Ellsworth Harris, and was the first African-American commercial airline pilot and first to achieve the rank of pilot captain for a major U.S. commercial airline. Harris retired in 1994 after flying for American Airlines for a total of 30 years. He was 89 years old. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are our 8 bell input, and we hope you'll raise a glass to the memory and their greatness. Aye. Very good. And to bring it up a bit, how about Joke of the Week with Mini Mayhem, sponsored by Salt City Comics, our good friend that's made our new logo and our new comic figures right there out of Utah. Good friends with Mandy. So go ahead, Davey. What's the Joke of the Week? Mini Mayhem. Come on up.
Ahoy, mates. Mini Mayhem here with Joke of the Week. Sponsored by Salt City Comics. Who keeps the oceans clean? Think about it, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the show.
I'll have to think about that one. Hey, you want a good walking tour of St. Augustine, the oldest city in the nation? Contact our friends at Spyglass Travel. Kevin and Angie give a great tour, a walking tour of the historical city of St. Augustine, Florida. It is considered one of the 10 best walking tours of the United States. Check them out. They always sponsor Quote of the Week. And what is that quote there, Mr. Davey? In wine there is wisdom. In beer there is freedom. In water there is bacteria. Benjamin Franklin. I would wonder would he would really say that or not. Good quote. Wine is wisdom, beer is freedom, water is bacteria. Well, that's why I tell everybody that pirates don't drink water anyway. It's bad for you. Question of the week, ladies and gentlemen, sponsored by Ancient City Sirens. You know Miss Gina and her girls. They did a fantastic job at the Celtic Festival this past weekend and manned one complete 9-man shift for the beer tent. We'll be talking a little bit more about that in just a bit. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, it is question of the week. Now, I happen to be making a trip to Chicago this weekend. I've never been there before. I've been to a lot of cities around the entire world, not just the United States. I have a few favorite cities. I actually like some parts of Washington, D.C. I love Tokyo, Japan. I used to be totally in love with Tucson, Arizona for the longest time. And, of course, my own hometown here in St. Augustine. So if you've made your travels, what is your favorite city that you have visited? And, in fact, our good friend Marc Ferget from up in Quebec, Canada, is traveling the United States right now. And he just messaged me a little while ago. They're in Mississippi en route to Baton Rouge, where they'll be making their stay for the evening. He's watching us now, believe it or not, or he said he was while they're traveling. They are watching us on their, hopefully, their good computer screen. But we do have him watching us. So, ladies and gentlemen, wave to Mark as he drives by. He should be coming this way towards St. Augustine in a couple of days, I believe, but we'll find out what's going on. Upon that note, This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by Florida Water Tours. They give a great tour. They've been a good sponsor of everything we've done and helped us with some of our events. If you'd like to have a good tour of the city of St. Augustine by the water, call up Florida Water Tours. Go ahead, Davey.
Welcome to This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by our friends at Florida Water Tours. Experience the Intercoastal Waterway at its finest, featuring picture-perfect attractions. We begin This Week in Nautical History in the year 1493. Christopher Columbus returns to Spain after his first voyage to the New World. 1521. Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan reaches the Philippines, landing at Hamahan Island after crossing the Pacific Ocean. 1778. Nutuka Sound, Vancouver Island, discovered by Captain James Cook. 1834. Charles Darwin aboard HMS Beagle anchors in the recently British-acquired Falkland Islands for the first time. 1882, Norwegian scientist and explorer Nansen sets out on his first expedition on a sea voyage to study Arctic zoology. 1915, German cruiser Dresden scuttled off Masatera, Chile, having been pursued by Royal Navy after the Battle of the Falkland Islands, with their engines worn out and virtually no coal. 1916, Dutch merchant ship Tubantia torpedoed by German submarine and sinks in North Sea. And finally, in 1966, U.S. submarine locates missing hydrogen bomb on the Mediterranean Sea floor. And that was this week in nautical history.
Well done, Davey. Well done. Always interesting things that we find there. And, well, hey, this week in nautical history always brings up something interesting to talk about. And I hope that you get as much enjoyment out of it as we do. And I'm sure Davey enjoys putting it together for everyone. We always like to talk about crew adventures. We have several to talk about. Let's first talk about the Celtic Festival. We just finished the Celtic Festival this past Saturday and Sunday with a whiskey tasting on Friday night. I actually had a taste of that whiskey on Saturday morning, and it was quite good. It really was. It was a long day on Saturday. I myself had 2 magic shows to do, one at the beginning of the day, one at the end of the day. But of course, we had some great bands on the main stage. Miss Gina and the girls were on the secondary stage with me. And then Sunday, we had not quite as long a day. The rain came in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday and knocked out a few things here and there for about 45 minutes. Everybody buttoned up for a bit and stood under whatever they could to find cover. But after that, it was nice. A little bit of a breeze. And then yesterday, Sunday, it was much cooler. It cooled down about 10, 11, 12 degrees. So it was much cooler. But it was a good event. Our crew, the St. Augustine Swashbucklers, mans the beer tent next to the main stage. So our crew gets to see all the bands and have a good time. But we can't do that event, that beer tent, all by ourselves. So we have help. We have Gina and the Sirens help out, taking some of the shifts. We have the Seawolf Privateers taking some of the shifts. And we have St. Mary's pirate crew from up in St. Mary's, Florida, taking care of some of the shifts. Now, here's how we do it. It takes 63 shifts for all day Saturday and all day Sunday to run that beer tent. 63 shifts. We get to keep all the tip money. We get none of the money that's used to buy the beer, the wine, the mead, and the Jamesons, but we do get to keep tip money. Now, standing there, I notice that there are some people that just don't tip. That be the way it is, okay. But all the money that's raised goes to different charities. And here's how it's done. The entire amount of money, all the tip money is put into one bucket, one basket, one box. In fact, it was counted up officially this afternoon, not by me, but by 2 members of the crew. They've documented it. All I have to do is now take it and deposit it in the crew bank account. They raised over $2,500 from all day Saturday to all day Sunday. A little less than last year. I think with last year we cleared 31, but $2,500, and it'll be divided by shift. So if a crew did, for example, the Seawolf Privateers did, I believe, 10 shifts, 11 shifts, they get 11 shares of that $2,500. Same with Gina's crew. She gets 9 shares or 10 shares with that. So it's divided up equally by shares, and each one of those crews, knowing in advance that's how it works, and everybody's happy. We've done it now for 4 years that way. 4. And it works very well, and everybody's happy. And if you think about it historically, it's exactly the way it's done on a pirate ship. Equal shares for everyone. There you have it. So $2,500 is divided up and given to all of those crews for their different charities. The St. Augustine Swashbucklers charities are Alia's Acres, a no-kill animal zone, and Inc., investing in kids. a way to help teachers buy supplies that they need for their classrooms every year without digging into their own pocket. I do believe that Miss Gina also does stuff for Elia's Acres. And the Seawolf Privateers, they have a huge foster children program down in Flagler County. And I do not know what the St. Mary's Cruise charity is now. Forgive me for that. If any of the crew is watching, they can correct me online. But otherwise, you know that this money goes to a good cause. Next year, we're going to kill it even harder. Maybe we'll even add some extra shifts so that we have some strong arms out there making sure that the tips are stronger. Pirates, you know. Upon that note, though, it was a good weekend. It was long. I'm wore out. I know some of the other crew are also, but we did a good job and represented the Pirates of St. Augustine well. Now, we have another event coming up in a couple of weeks. It is the St. Augustine Seafood event. Oh, one more thing on the Celtic Festival. I have been a part of the Celtic Festival since its conception 12 years ago. I really enjoy repeat business, so to speak, or repeat relationships with organizations. And I've been working with the Celtic Festival since they started 12 years ago. Our guest tonight was supposed to be the man that owns the Scottish Cottage. He makes the best is not the right word, but he makes the most wonderful of all haggis. And if you're a good Scotsman, you'll eat your haggis. Or how can you have your pudding if you don't eat your haggis, right? But he makes the best. And he was going to stay in town for an extra day with him and his wife and his crew. And I invited him to come on board here and be on the show tonight because he also has a Celtic festival of his very own up in Asheville in the Carolinas. But about 3 o'clock this afternoon, they were staying for an extra day to enjoy the beach today. But it was a little chilly and it was windy. And they sent me a message and said they were going to go ahead and bug out and they'll catch us next time. So maybe we'll get him to be a part of the show next year. But it is some of the best haggis. And I do have to say, I have to thank them greatly. They treat our crew very well. And he never lets me pay for my Scotch breakfast every morning. A big heaping plate of eggs and sausage and bacon and beans and it's haggis. And it's more than I can eat. And I did it 2 mornings in a row. I'm feeling the weight of it, but it was well worth it. And he never lets me pay for it. He's a good neighbor in the Celtic Festival for us, and I enjoy having him as a friend. So hopefully we'll get him on the show next year. On that note.
Wait a minute, Captain, yeah. I got some pictures.
Oh, good. Show some pictures.
All right.
Good pictures you found there. Very good, Davey. Very good.
My mistake, also have another video. My mistake was bringing Celtic Mini Mayhem there, and Unfortunately, I brought him to the beer booth, and he did find one of the bottles of mead, and this is what happened. I don't know.
Yes, too much
You notice
mead.
that bottle is almost empty. And
I
he was causing
know.
problems. You saw him throughout with some of the people.
Yeah, very good. Well, at least he got his flavor and taste of the mead. That's good. Very good. Very good. All right. So let's talk real quick about the Seafood Festival. That's coming up the first weekend of April. We have been involved with the Seafood Festival, ladies and gentlemen, for about 11, 12, 13 years also. Those are two of the biggest festivals in St. Augustine, and the St. Augustine Swashbucklers have been a part of them for over a decade each. This year, we'll be providing more entertainment in Spanish Landing, and they've told me that we'll be in a different area of Spanish Landing, or the Spanish Landing will be in a different area. Pirates Cove with fun and games with Captain William Mayhem, wenches, sirens, mermaids, the pirate crew. Enjoy magic, juggling, storytelling, dancing, singing, and more. That will be from 10 to 6 on both days, or probably not quite 6 on Sunday. I don't recall, but from 11 to 6 on Saturday and at least 11 to 5 on Sunday. They'll be on nonstop. I know a few of the entertainers that are going to be there. Gina and some of the sirens will be there. I'll be doing a few magic shows. Our good friend Andrew will be doing some shows with us, also some juggling shows. We have a couple of musicians coming in, Mr. Cooper and his brother. They will be there. And a few of the crew have decided that we should probably do some story time and have some of the children come and sit for story time. And I think that'll be a lot of fun too. And there may be, I believe I have a special guest. Many of you know that I'm part of the order, and one of my order brothers may be able to come down. He can't come on Saturday because he's got a prior commitment, but he may be able to come down on Sunday and do some balloons and tell some stories and have a good time. And my friends, that man is Mr. Jay Tucci, and he is a real pirate because he has him a peg leg. Aye. But if you want to meet one of my good friends from the Order of Leviathan, please make sure you come out on Saturday and Sunday, the first weekend of April, and see all the crew of the St. Augustine Swashbucklers, Miss Gina and her girls, and of course, well, you never know who else might show up. So that's that one. Now, there's two other events I want to talk about and at least explore and put the word out there for you. And that is our good friends, the Seawolf Privateers. They have an event on the 12th and 13th. This will be their third murder mystery. And on April the 12th, you can go, and the food is being sponsored by Outback. And on April the 13th, you can go and being sponsored by Carrabba's. All the money they raise goes towards their foster children program there. And this, I understand, is going to be a pretty unique murder mystery because all but one of the players is a female. Oh, only one. And my goodness, I feel sorry for that poor guy right there.
Yeah, look at the name of the ship, Captain.
What is the name of the ship?
The PMS.
Well, that might explain it right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Seawolf Privateers, April 12th and 13th.
They also sent us a video, Captain.
Good. Let's see the video real quick.
Captain Alan Scudder from the Seawolf Privateers. Murder mystery. Mutiny on the high seas. It'll be April 12th and 13th. Friday night with a delicious Outback. Carrabba's on Saturday. This murder mystery is based on a crew of women on the ship of the PMS. Tempers will flare. We'll lose control. Bad decisions all around. They'll have a prisoner on board. It'll just stir up more trouble than you can ever imagine. This is for our children of the foster community and our displaced children. Look forward to getting your tickets for $50. Please come and see us. There'll be a cash bar and auction items. Again, that's on April 12th and 13th. See you there.
Good job, very good job. And the wife and I are making plans to go that Friday evening. And if any of my crewmates want to join me, I hope that they will go down with me on that Friday evening and enjoy the evening with the Seawolf Privateers and what they have cooked up for their murder mystery. And it is a good cause. Also, that same weekend, on Saturday, the 13th, our good friends from the Queen Anne's Revenge crew, they have the Pirate Mini Masters to support Surfers for Autism. Ladies and gentlemen, that's their Facebook page right there. Pirate Mini Masters at Pirates Cove in Ormond Beach. It's $15 for a round of 18 holes. They have some great baskets for raffle. Proceeds will support equipment for Surfers for Autism. That's being put on by the Pirates of the Queen Anne's Revenge. And we support them also. Now, if you get a chance, come down. I plan on being down there to play golf. Mini golf, of course. And maybe I'll bring my very own putter. But I challenge any of the other pirates to come down and play golf with the captain and help us raise some money for their event also. The only other thing I'm going to tell you about is at the end of May, I will be away for about 6 days. I have not had a vacation in 17 years or so. I am taking one. I am backing away and going to enjoy, and the wife and I and several of our crewmates, I believe up to 15 of our crewmates, we're going on a cruise, a 6-day cruise. And I'm looking forward to it, for I've never been on a cruise. Although I did help bring the Black Raven around back in 2009 from Tampa all the way around and back up the coast. But I've never been on a cruise ship before. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll have my lovely wife with me and some of my good crewmates that are also attending. Now, on that note, I think we've talked about enough. Turn off the light. It's not a flashing light, it's a candle. I'm not turning my candle off. Now, let's see. Oh, let's talk real quick about my upcoming trip. My upcoming trip is to Chicago. And I thought I'd explain to you exactly what's going on. It's an interesting trip. I'm going up there to have a good time, but I've been requested to make a lecture, so to speak, on the great Captain Morgan. And here's how it came about. There is a college that is part of the legal world of the United States of America called the College of Workmen's Compensation, I believe is what it's called. And it's lawyers that work primarily in the workmen's compensation area all across the country. And they have their annual dinner. And they have, to create a theme for the dinner, they have a Hall of Fame. And last year, their Hall of Fame inductee was Theodore Roosevelt, who, in his term as president, did some wonderful things for the workers of the United States. Well, Theodore Roosevelt could not be there to accept his award, so they had the grandnephew of Theodore Roosevelt come and talk about his great-grand uncle, and then the award was taken back to the Roosevelt Museum. This year, they picked Captain Morgan, Henry Morgan from the 1680s. For you see, Captain Morgan was one of those pirates that first incorporated the idea that if you lost a finger, you lost a hand, you lost an arm, you got a little extra money in the division compensation, so to speak. So something just popped up, caught my attention. So I'm going to represent Captain Morgan as Captain William Mayhem and the Pirate and Treasure Museum in Chicago. It happens to be on this Saturday evening. But in my research, I found out that one of the oldest, if not the oldest magic shop in all the United States, 1901, so 123 years old now, is in Chicago. So I asked if they would let me have 2 nights stay. I leave on Friday morning. I will be there around noon on Friday. I'll have all day Friday, most of Saturday, do my thing on Saturday night with them and all those lawyers. A bunch of pirates, I'm sure. And then come on home late Sunday evening. The best part is it's St. Patrick's weekend. And the hotel I'm staying at is only 8-minute walk from the parade. So I will be catching the parade during the day. I've already been in touch with the concierge there to find out some of the pubs in the area that might be worth my visit. And I'm just going to go up there. Now, I've looked at the weather. It's going to be in the 40s the whole weekend. No rain, but in the 40s and quite windy. I guess that's what Chicago's known for. But if any of you know anything about Chicago or have some ideas or some suggestions, by all means, I do not have all the time to do everything, but I'm open to any suggestions because I've never been to Chicago. Hence the reason that we had the question, what's your favorite city? Never been to Chicago. I'm looking forward to it. I've had a lot of people tell me I have to be careful. It's a dangerous place, but so's the rest of the world. We'll see what happens. So if you've got suggestions, send them to me. There's the magic shop right there, ladies and gentlemen. Magic Inc. There it is. Now, we've talked about all kinds of things going on here. I do believe we have 2 other videos. Davey, you have one about Celtic or St. Patty's Day, huh?
Yes.
Why don't we do that one first?
Okay.
The day we all pretend to be Irish down a few Guinness. But who was this St. Patrick guy anyway? Here's a brief history of St. Patrick's Day. Well, first of all, St. Patrick wasn't even Irish. Born in Britain in the late 4th century, Mywin Succat was captured and enslaved by Irish raiders. After years of forced labor, he escaped to Britain, where he joined the Catholic Church, changed his name to Patricius or Patrick. Years later, he returned to Ireland as a Christian missionary, devoting nearly 30 years to converting the Irish. Now, legend has it that Patrick drove all the snakes out of Ireland, but to tell you the truth, there never were snakes on the island. When he finally died, Patrick became the patron saint of Ireland, despite his British heritage. It all began in 1903, when St. Patrick's Day, also known as Feast Day, became a national holiday in Ireland, celebrated on March 17th, the day of St. Patrick's death. Festivities usually just amounted to attending church and gathering for feasts. In fact, drinking was actually banned in Ireland on St. Patrick's Day up until the 1970s. Irish immigrants brought the tradition to America in the early 1700s, where it evolved into a secular holiday, often centered around drinking and celebrating all things Irish. The first ever St. Patrick's Day parade was held in Boston in 1737. And today, there are over 100 St. Patrick's Day parades across the U.S. In Chicago, they use 40 pounds of green dye to turn the river even greener each year. And New York City's annual parade is the largest in the world, with an estimated 2 million spectators. With over 34 million Americans claiming Irish ancestry, even more claiming to be Irish when they're not, it's no surprise this holiday has become one of the largest in the country.
Very good, Mr. Longwood. Very good. Before we go into the next one, though, I do want to say hello to a good friend of ours now. Hi, Paulina, the Neo Trinidad. We want to say hello to you and tell everybody that if you want to go down and actually, Davey, while I'm talking, see if you can find the website for the Neo Trinidad real quick, or a link or something so we can post it. We want everybody to go down to the St. Augustine Marina and take a little tour aboard the Trinidad and see how an old ship actually really was and how actually kind of small they were too. Not exactly the big giant things you see all the time in all the movies. Some of them were quite small. And I always like to tell people, if you look at the size of those ships and think about it, it really took An awful lot of bravery for those men to get on those ships to explore the new world all the way around the world in open waters that they knew nothing about. That's the first thing that people should think about. And we're working on it. It's been really, 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 so look at neotrinidad.org, Davey.
Okay.
There, she just posted it to me. It has tickets and everything so people can go see the ship. I've been on it twice already in the past couple of weeks. They actually came to town on the weekend of the St. Augustine, the Old City Pirate Fest. And we passed out flyers and talked about them from the stage. Our MC, Mr. Gonzo himself, was there, and we talked about the Trinidad and tried to get people to go down the first weekend they were there. I know that there's a couple of fundraisers going on. I know that one of the pirate crews locally is doing a fundraiser. I was I was contacted by somebody else that wants to do a fundraiser. And we're looking at trying to do maybe in April, and maybe since this is my first time to really actually tell Paulina my idea, we're kind of thinking maybe towards the end of April when they leave port to head for other ports, maybe to do a podcast show as a farewell to everyone, and invite people down and to say farewell and safe travels and fair seas. So that's kind of the idea that I've been beating about in my head. But you know how busy our schedule has been, and you know some of the transportation issues that we've had to deal with here in the Mayhem household. It has been a very challenging month, I can say that. So the Neo Trinidad, the St. Augustine, a word just went right out of my head. Marina, the St. Augustine Marina. David, did you find that website?
I have. Even better.
Even better. Very good. Davey's going to put it right up there. And we hope to really have some fun and do a live show there. Now, the only thing that may change the idea of that show, and this is more information since I know that Paulina is watching us, we have to see what kind of Wi-Fi is. There's a great poster. Look at that.
With the QR code.
With the QR code. That'll make it even easier, I believe, for people. Get that QR code and go and take a trip on that. Well, not a trip, but a walkabout on that wonderful ship, the flagship of the famous navigator Ferdinand Magellan. It is a fun ship to be on, and a good friend of ours, and many of you know, and many of you worked with, and he was in my house on Old City Pirate Fest weekend on that Sunday evening singing songs, and that is our good friend Diego. Diego works on the ship while it's in port, and they do have some volunteer positions to help give the crew of the Trinidad a little rest break and a reprieve from doing all the work. So that if you want to go down and help them out, go down and talk to our good friend Paulina. The crew of the 13 are selling the tickets for a $40 event, and it's this Friday from 7:30 to 9:30. So there's a good event coming up this weekend. And hopefully we can do an event in April. Gives us plenty of time. The weather will be warmer. That's a good thing. And we could have a good time. Now, if the Wi-Fi is not strong down there, I don't know yet, but if the Wi-Fi is not strong, the plan might be that we pick like a Sunday afternoon and do the show on a Sunday afternoon and just put the show out there on Monday night at 8 o'clock. So that's our secondary plan. So our friend Paulina now knows a good portion of our plan. That puts us ahead when we start to talk. So we'll see what happens. But go down there and see the Neo Trinidad. It's a lot of fun, actually. And it's interesting. If you're really into the history of the nautical world, this is a good example of how you can find out some of the things that were going on. Now, on that note, Davey, how about this week in history?
Sponsored by?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sponsored by. Wait a minute, I gotta look now. Hold on. I gotta look. This week in history is sponsored by our good friends at Dick's Wings. How could I forget? Dick's Wings, ladies and gentlemen. If you want a good lunch, they have some very reasonable lunches. In fact, several of the crew and myself, we were there last night for dinner after the final takedown of the Celtic Festival. All of us were just too tired to go home and cook food. So we were there about 8 o'clock last night, had some wings, and believe it or not a one of us sitting at the table drank alcohol. Not a one of us. We were all drinking Coke and iced tea. So let's see what we can do. Davey,
Yep.
Dick's Wings, put them up there.
Welcome to This Week in History, sponsored by our good friends at Dick's Wings Bar and Grill. Wings, salads, wraps, quesadillas, and more. No matter what your taste buds crave, they've got you covered. We begin This Week in History in the year 432. St. Patrick, aged about 16, is captured by Irish pirates from his home in Great Britain and taken as a slave to Ireland. 1789. Benjamin Banneker and Pierre Charles L'Enfant began to lay out Washington, D.C. 1852. Uncle Sam cartoon figure made its debut in the New York Lantern Weekly. 1855. Bowery Boy gang leader William Poole, aka Bill the Butcher, is buried in Brooklyn with 155 carriages and 6,000 mourners. 1862. Confederate General Stonewall Jackson begins evacuation of Winchester, Virginia. 1894. Coca-Cola is sold in bottles for the first time in a candy store in Vicksburg, Mississippi. 1912. Girl Scouts begin in the U.S. as the Girl Guides, formed by Juliette Gordon Low in Savannah. 1923. U.S. President Warren G. Harding becomes first president to pay taxes. 1941. FDR signs Lend-Lease Bill, allowing U.S. to provide material support to Great Britain's war effort in return for future use of land for U.S. military bases in England. 1957. Random House and Houghton Mifflin co-publish The Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss. 1969. 120 cannabis joints found at George and Patty Harrison's home. And finally, in 1977, TV comedy Three's Company, starring John Ritter, Suzanne Summers, and Joyce DeWitt, premieres on ABC in U.S. And that was This Week in History.
Grand information, Davey. Always This Week in History. What a great show to listen and to listen to while driving. And that's Captain Smoo, our good supporter and fan and friend from Quebec, Canada, on the road. He said he was on his way to Baton Rouge. Are you close? Let us know. We should go back through and see what we have in the messages. But first, we have this section called Mail Call or Captain's Corner. And we have no mail, but I have two subjects that I'd like to briefly talk about for Captain's Corner. The first one, mostly just a question for us to put out to you. This world is full of wokeism, and sometimes it affects everybody around us. And as Davey and I were talking before the show, we have friends, as entertainers that we are, we have friends on both sides of the aisle of all of this. And we try to never make this show political in any way or to try to take any sides in any way, because we do not want to offend any of our friends, either side. But I always have a problem with being middle of the road or riding the fence. I've always said that if you ride the fence, the only thing you get by riding the fence is splinters in your arse. And that's not good. Sometimes we might have to say something. If we do say something, we will always try to take into account how we say it and try to be as totally respectable and professional as we truly can. We've only had one incident so far in the 125 episodes, and that's when somebody badmouthed us and called us socialists and communists for a quote we used by somebody that was not American. In further research, we found out that this man that we used the quote from was respected by all sides of the aisle, not just in this country, but in all the other countries around the world. He was at one time the UN Secretary General, and his resume showed that he was a very brilliant man and did an awful lot. But here's the one thing about history that I always have to tell people, or at least in my humble opinion. History is always subjective. We have to make educated guesses, assumptions, and surmises based on the information we have at hand. And that information sometimes changes. Look at some of the things that we talked about with Blackbeard last week in our episode about Blackbeard with our good friend that came and brought us the book all about Blackbeard, which I happen to have right here. And we talked about Blackbeard. There were some things about Blackbeard that I didn't know, that I thought I knew, and he changed my mind on a few of those things because he had other information. We don't know everything about everything. And anybody that is in the world of history that has not got an open mind will find themselves arguing with everybody. So we want to make sure that when we're talking about history or talking about wokeism in any way, shape, or form, we want to make sure that we are respectful and professional to everybody. And we will pick and choose our battles. That's always a smart thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about, support or supporting other events, whether it's in the pirate world, the Renaissance world, the tour guides around the city, because we have a whole lot of tour guides. Maybe it's events. We can't support everything, ladies and gentlemen. And at times, there are going to be events on top of other events. It cannot be helped. Now, I have had somebody recently that was upset with another somebody, and I'm not using names, I just want to use part of this as an instance. They were very upset that there are two different events going on. You can't swing a dead cat around Florida without running into pirate events overlapping each other. It just, and if you add Renaissance festivals and steampunk into it, there are events every weekend. There's only 52 weekends in a year, ladies and gentlemen. How can there not be an overlap of events? So I put to you this: if some events are more than one night or more than one day, and your event is only one day, there is nothing to keep people that would go to one event from going to your event also, and vice versa. It also depends on the venue or the genre of your event. If you're doing an adult event and somebody else is doing a kids event, how can that be a problem? It can't be. It's not a problem. Here's one other thing, and this is specifically to you pirates out there. Stop making your events so that it's just more of a pirate private party. Open it up to the entire community. That's where you're going to make your money and your support. And one more thing, on top of that, if you can't go to an event, you can still support the event by pushing their event pages on your page on Facebook. That's the good part of Facebook. The very best part of Facebook is the idea of promoting all of this. Promoting is one way to support an event. Maybe you can't attend, but you can promote it. That helps them. And you can also make a donation even if you don't go. You can make an offer of a donation of money, an offer of donation for their raffle baskets. In some way, shape, or form, we can all support each other. It doesn't matter if the dates are all scrambled up. And the agreement within the pirate community around the different ways, it's not a contractual agreement. It doesn't mean it can or can't be broken. It's a gentleman's agreement. And gentlemen will shake hands and say, okay, this is the way it is. It doesn't mean that we should be enemies over it in any way, shape, or form. Now, I've been doing the pirate thing for 18 years. I've had a lot of pirates, even recently, create an event on top of one of mine. I used to be upset with it. Now I don't really worry about it anymore. Because some of the pirates from other crews will still come and support. But support comes from advertising and helping advertise and promoting. And your presence is not always support. your money, open your wallet in your pocket. That's what supports these groups. You've got groups that are working with children, groups that are working with teachers, groups that are working with animals. We all are trying to better our community. We can't better our community if we're going to be all upset with each other. Upon that note, I'm sure there will be some people that when they hear me say these things, they will be all upset with me. Here's how I'm looking at it now. I have relaxed a little bit lately because I'll be 66 years old soon. I can pull up my pants all up past my waist and holler, get off my lawn if I want. But I prefer to get along with people. I prefer to see that all of us can work our ways into the right direction to make our successful events successful. Upon that note, if I've hurt your feelings, then it was probably directed at you. If you agree with me, I enjoy the company. What do you think, Mr. Longwood? Shall we move on and finish this show?
Aye.
So,
Comment.
did our friend up in Quebec, who's now in Mississippi, did he tell us where he's at? I don't see it. Oh, and one more thing on the on going to 2 events or 3 events or however many events. If you have time, do as many as you can. If you don't, we can't do them all. And I'll be doing some updates later on in the month and let you know how some of these events go that I'm going to. I can't think of anything else to say, Mr. Davey. So, we always like to say thank you to everybody, but we
I thought we were going to look at comments.
What's that?
The comments.
Oh, you want me to go through the comments? I'll tell you what. I'll go through the comments while you finish the joke of the week.
Okay.
Okay, it's time for the answer to the joke of the week. Who keeps the oceans clean? The answer is the mermaid.
Oh, I hope my wife didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of mermaid friends.
Yes, we do have a lot of mermaid friends.
It's Minnie Mayhem's fault.
That's right. Blame it on the inanimate object, the puppet.
It's the puppet's fault.
It's a puppet's fault. It's always the puppet's fault. Let's see, 2.5 hours away from Baton Rouge. All right, very good. Safe landing there. I see Zachary Harker is on board, and he said he missed last week's show because he was out on the motorcycle due to some surprise 70-degree weather. Well, in Michigan, if you get 70-degree weather, you better take advantage of it. So you're forgiven this time, Mr. Harker, very much so. It's a shame that where you're at in Michigan is a little too far from Chicago. It'd really be a great time to have a rum with you. But one of these days we'll figure it out. Ransom Mayhem's on board from Panama City Beach, and I've already seen emails from the people at Panama City preparing ready and getting ready for their pirate event in October. So we'll be taking care of that and getting ready. The crew is already looking forward to it. In a discussion with our crew the other day, the Panama City Beach Pirate Festival is one of our favorites to go to. So let's see. Nightingale in Florida is on board. Ahoy. A Facebook user says they're watching, but I don't know who that Facebook user is. Will the historian woke up just in time. What, were you taking a nap? Aye. Mr. D. Gregory says it is a bit blurry. I'm sure we were talking about the Pirate Museum logo, but Mr. Gregory, the way I understand it, your eyes are just as bad as mine. Captain likes my shirt. Aye. Nightingale in Florida likes my shirt. Very good. One of my favorites so far has been Salem, Massachusetts. Another city I haven't been to yet. I'll have to make plans to do that. Will the historian. Las Vegas was fun, but got to give it to D.C. So much history in one place. I agree with you. I enjoyed Vegas, and my son did come and visit me in Vegas at one point in time. Favorite city is Orleans, France. Beautiful small town full of history. Good one. Good one. Aye. Jim Neuenfeld, he's sorry he's late, but he did make it. Well, we're always glad to have you there. Don't worry about being late as long as you make it along the way. Paula De Niro is watching. Very good. It was a beautiful weekend, Jim. A little bit of rain on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, but the rest of the weekend was great. Ransom Mayhem asks, why is the meat always gone? That's because Minnie Mayhem is now got it. By the way, I did get some extra, so I have some to taste. Now we know who drank all the mead. Parlay 8 says, yay, Tucci. Parlay 8, they love Chicago. If you are close enough, you'd have to come visit me. That's all I can say. Jim says he heard that the Lawyers Hall of Fame and the Fisherman's Hall of Fame were merging. After all, their similarities and stories are similar. I got to visit the Navy Pier when you visit the Navy Pier when you're in Chicago. I've heard that the pier is well worth it. It's about a 15-minute taxi ride, so I'm probably going to try to do that. Go see the Bean near the waterfront. Okay, I will do that. If they are turning the river green, I'm going to go see that, and I am going to go see the parade. And it's an 8-minute walk from my hotel where I'm staying to the Lincoln statue, which is right there where the parade is. I'm not going to get that word right. Giordano's Pizza, Chicago deep dish. All right, I'll have to try deep dish. I'm not a big fan of deep dish, but you know what? When in Rome, right? The area around Wrigley Field is amazing. I do want to see Wrigley Field, being a baseball person that I am. I do want to see Wrigley Field. The first St. Patrick's Day parade was in St. Augustine in 1601. You're absolutely right. As far as we know historically, that is correct, which would make it the first St. Patrick's Day parade on the North American continent. Ransom has been to Chicago, went to Hart, Schaefer, and Marx University for making men's clothes. Well, I'm not going to go make men's clothes, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. The municipal marina. Oh, you're talking about the marina down here. I'm just going to call it the marina. That's good enough. On St. Paddy's Day, everyone is a little Irish, except the Scottish. We're still Scottish. You're absolutely right. River tour is gorgeous to get to see all the architecture. I'll keep that one in mind too. And the St. Augustine Marina is in Volano. Okay, I'll try to make sure I understand that. Let's see. Myself and a couple of my crew climbed to the crow's nest and actually worked on the ship for a little bit. And he's my brother Ransom Mayhem is referring to the Trinidad. I hosted many of the Trinidad crew at my house for 3 days. Very good. What a great show to listen to. Wild driving. Don't be too wild on your driving. It might get you a ticket. Will, I'm both, so I get to celebrate both. Oh, okay. Yep. Bravo, Captain. I'm not sure what we're bravoing, but I'll accept it. I like bravos. Just trying to wrap my head around people thinking you're a socialist or a communist. Yeah, I know. I like to tell people, and Will the historian, for those of you that don't know, that's my son, and he's a history teacher. And I always like to tell people, if you know my love of pirate history, real pirate history, not Disney pirate history, but if you know my love of history, you actually probably do not need to ask my stance on the world. And we'll leave it at that, all right? But we still can be professional, we still can be respectful, and we still can be courteous to everyone, because we live in the greatest country in the world. You are entitled to your voice, your words, your thoughts, and your opinions. It should not be taken away from you. And if it differs from somebody else, it should be the opening of a door for conversation, not the door for violence. That's what I say. Ransom Mayhem, any questions about our pirate event here, please let me know. Absolutely right. And that's about it. Very good. It's been a good show. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, without a guest, we'll run right on the hour. Oh, look, I just disappeared. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my screen disappeared. All right. And as I always say, when it's just me, sometimes it's just going to be an hour. It's the guests that make this show. Oh, speaking of guests, I had a nice long conversation with everybody's favorite news person, Jessica Clark.
Yay.
She has agreed to come on the show. Although, because of her schedule, where it's Monday through Friday news on the evening, we may have to do the show on a Sunday and either do it live on a Sunday and then play it back again on Monday night, but we'll see. The MC for the second stage this past weekend is a SAG card actor, and she was in Muppets Take Manhattan and a few other things up in New York, and has agreed for coming on the show also, so we can talk about acting and having a good time. Or as John Levitt would say, acting. But that's a different story. And let's see, that's 2. 3 was our friend at Scottish Cottage. There's a 4th one that I talked to about being on the show, and now I can't remember who it was. The difference between today and yesteryear, people learned and practiced manners. I do agree with that one too. Manners are a forgotten thing. So I believe we should do our thank you video, David.
Okay.
The Captain's Quarters podcast is indeed a ship sailing the seas of the world, always in search of history, knowledge, and adventure. It takes a crew to run a ship, so we take this opportunity to thank those who help keep this ship afloat.
The cast and crew: Captain William Mayhem, Navigator Davy Longwood, Gunner Hellfire Henley, Cartographer Mandy Joe, the Powder Monkey, and Juan Cam.
Helping others gives a crew purpose. Our treasured charities that we support: Inc., investing in kids; the Humane Society of St. Johns County; Aelia's Acres, a no-kill animal rescue zone; and the Cadets of the St. Johns County Fire Department. The 4 major charities that we support, but there's always room for more.
You too can be part of the crew and support the show in many ways. Go to Patreon. A small monthly contribution as Powder Monkey or First Mate memberships, or a single contribution. PayPal or Venmo. Go to YouTube. Hit the like and follow buttons to join our ranks and support the show. It does take a crew. Thank you.
Very good, Davey. One more thing before we go on to our next one, because we want to thank our sponsors. They're always important to us. If my friends at Parlay 8 are still watching, I want to give you credit for the change in my Captain's Quarters podcast studio view here. I really like the way your setup was, more than just my chairs, and I like the way you had it set up. And so I started looking at this and thought, and it's now more open and more roomy. So this way I don't get accused of stealing something, although we are pirates. I will accept the accusation that I have parlayed your idea into our idea. And we thank you very much for that. Upon that note, let's thank our sponsors, David.
Okay.
Our sponsors are the power behind the wheel that drives this ship, Captain's Quarters Podcast. Our major sponsor is the St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum, 850 artifacts on pirate treasures and history.
Marco's Pizza. If you want a good pizza, that is the place to go.
Dick's Wings and Grill. Great wings, but just wonderful lunch specials throughout the week.
And Ancient City Sirens, led by Miss Gina and the wonderful dancers.
And if you want a great walking tour of the oldest city in the nation, Spyglass Travel will do.
And the wonderful talent at Rikers Reenactors.
And a great view of St. Augustine can be seen from the Matanzas River, with Florida Water Tours providing wonderful trips upon the water. These are our sponsors, and we thank them wholeheartedly and graciously. Good job. We can't do it without the sponsors. Little secret, we may have a rum sponsor soon. I got to start working on that. Bye. How about our numbers, Davey? Do they look good this week?
Yeah. Mandy Jo was out to sea. She's busy, so she couldn't make it to do her little video, which I like.
Yes.
But,
if you can show us a little bit, we're good to go. That's fine.
Yeah, we have 1,521 subscribers.
Very good.
And we have we actually gained how we've had the little members that can. We gained another member.
Good.
We've always had the first person that ever signed up was we now got Nightingale. She joined so they can get those little emoji things that Mandy made, all that stuff.
Right.
So she's joined. So now we have two. Now we got two people.
Good.
So hopefully more people will join those. So now it's her and Zachary are those special ones.
What's that?
Now her and Zachary are two special.
Zachary Harker. That's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to do something special. Maybe have a very special show that they get to be included upon. So we'll come up with something and we'll shoot for the summertime with that one. That way the weather is good both in Michigan and here. Very good. So our numbers are good. 1,521.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. I'm happy. I'd like to see it hit by the end of March, 1,540. That's my prediction. For my birthday, which is in May, I'd like to see 1,600. Think we could hit 1,600?
I think so.
Good. Let's work on it. Upon that note, ladies and gentlemen, here's how you can catch us. YouTube every Monday night at 8 o'clock, and then it automatically downloads once the show is over to Spotify and Instagram. There may be an hour or two delay. Sometimes it's not instantaneous, but you can watch us there on those two. If you want to listen to us, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to us on Stitcher, iHeart, CastBox, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I have a guest with me right now. This is my favorite cat, Cooney.
Hey,
Mr. Cooney. Hi. Mr. Cooney's an old one, and sometimes he's a grumpy one, but okay.
I wonder which one of those listening platforms Captain Shmoo was, because he said he was listening to us.
Oh, that's true. So maybe he can tell us before we go off the air, because we're not going to click it until see if we give him a chance to do it. Captain Shmoo, if you can tell us which platform were you watching us on, or how are you watching us, or are you just listening? We're curious now because it gives us more things to work on. Will the historian said Navy just got canceled by the mermaids. They're not going to cancel it.
No, Will the historian. Minnie Mayhem went rogue on me.
Yeah, that's what it is. Mini mayhem. So, otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good show. Press that like button, as Nightingale in Florida says. Press that like button. It's nice to be liked. It works out well. I just noticed something.
Hey, we went over the hour, and it's just you and I.
That's true. We did. There's our look at. I have a crown. We need to have some angelic music in the background when I sit like this.
Angelic music. I don't know if I have it.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, sometimes it's just relaxing to do the show and have a good time, as we always try to do. And we're always listening for your input, your ideas. If you're the captain of a crew and want to brag about your event, contact us. Look, my Captain's Corner talked about how we have to support everybody. I have a platform that allows me to support any of the pirate crews anywhere in the country, and I want to. But I can't do it unless you send something out. So send something to me. Send a message. Send a note in a bottle. Send something and let us know what we can do to promote your event. We do have a webpage too. And on that webpage, we talk about some of the things, although I don't keep up with it as much as I should, but I'll try to work on that. But if you have something you want to talk about, and you don't have to be a pirate, you can be Ren Fair, steampunk, or just any other charitable event you want to talk about. I've had a few people contact me in the past couple of weeks. They're not pirates. They're not dress-uppers. They have other events they'd like us to be a part of, and we'd like to help them. And for charitable events at this point right now, ladies and gentlemen, all we do is parlay a trade of some sort. That's it. Just a trade, because we have sponsors that pay all the fees that we have to pay just to do this. And if you're wondering, the background stuff that we use, we own it. We have to, because we get in trouble if we use something else. The music we use, we own it. We've had to buy it. We have to be careful with what we put on here now, because we have gone international. And YouTube's pretty sticky about those kind of things. And we want to make sure that we don't step on anybody's professional tail. So join us if you will. To my friends Smee, Smoo, Smy, and all of you. Safe landing in Baton Rouge. Send me a message when you're going to hit St. Augustine or Jacksonville, and we'll get together. Come see my studio and have a rum, and we'll invite a few other pirates. Anytime you're in St. Augustine, all you got to do is give us a heads up, because then once you give us a heads up, the captain's going to have a drink for you or invite you over for my own rum. On that note, we should say goodnight because I need to rest. And for anybody wondering, it's nothing but apple juice tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I drank enough mead, enough ale, enough cider through the weekend. I'm recuperating. I got to rest up because I got another big weekend coming. So to each and every one of you, Davey, kick her off.
Part of the podcast.
Part of the crew. Always. We can't do it without you. We enjoy having you with us. Fair winds, safe sailing.